Minecraft is a unique game. Unique in a sense that no matter how one plays, they can still make their own story for the world around them. Stories told through my favourite Minecraft spin-offs, like Dungeons and Legends, are one of the major reasons I'm drawn to them. To see what they offer, not just by themselves, but to the expanded universe. Apparently not as many people know about the story of Minecraft Dungeons, considering there's also a fully canon novel to extend it. And in light of potential rumours of a new installment for Dungeons, it may be worth covering what exactly happens in this game. So I'll be doing a recap on the rough story events of Minecraft Dungeons. Though I'd still recommend taking in the game and novel for yourself, as there's far more intricate details to be found beyond what is said here. If you enjoy the video, consider subscribing. The story of Minecraft Dungeons starts with an official prequel novel of the game, The Rise of the Illager, showing Archie's rise to power, ending right before the first events of the main game. Archie spent his early years living amongst the Illagers, whose society could be brutal. He lived on a small continent-like landmass, known simply as the Mainland area on the in-game map. Here we learn that within the Illager community, respect lies in strength, might and viciousness, something this little guy doesn't have. And weakness was a terrible thing to display out in the open. Archie is forced to go on a patrol with a raiding party, which is soon slaughtered by a hero by the name of Carl, leaving only him and an evoker named Thord, his bully and rival since childhood, alive. The only reason he hadn't killed Archie already being due to the Illager leaders cracking down on his violent tendencies. After making their way back, Thord blames Archie's weakness and cowardice for the fall of their comrades, leading to Walder, the Illager leader of their tribe, which now dwells in a woodland mansion, to exile Archie into the dangerous wilds that surrounded his once home. Archie wandered through the dark plains beyond the mansion, being chased by undead mobs until sunrise, which is when he comes across a village, located on the Squid Coast, so about here on the mainland. The visual kind of spoils events to come, ignore that. While first met with panic from the villagers, one villager named Yumi decides to welcome him in, becoming Archie's first true friend. Archie takes residence there for a while, which during so, Yumi teaches Archie how to read. Because apparently if you're not a strong or even remotely useful Illager, no one can be bothered to teach you basic things like how to read and write, when they don't even see you as being worth the time. And Archie hadn't shown any aptitude for magic either. Eventually Carl, along with 4 other heroes, show up to the village, with Archie and the other villagers that have been housing the little Illager being shown aggression from Carl. The villagers decide they need to kick Archie out for their safety, separating him from the only place he's ever called home, where he was truly safe, and with the only friend he's ever made. Archie travels from place to place throughout the land, being forced to move from the undead chasing after him, up through the lava canyons up north, through the desert, and finally coming across a large mountain, which he notes he would never climb, but is forced to by the spiders which had chased him up. Eventually, the chasing spiders are smashed off the cliff by very conveniently timed and placed falling debris from higher up. Archie uses this to his advantage and climbs up relatively safely. Archie reaches a flat piece of mountain where he finds a giant doorway, briefly illuminated by a lightning strike, with handles placed high above his reach. The massive doors open, letting him walk inside to escape the cold rain, but something further in whispers to him, beckoning to come closer. He first thought it was the winds, but he realized that it was actually words he was hearing throughout the entire day. He was terrified and wanted to flee. Don't be afraid. Come closer. I am here for you. I offer you power. The glowing cube of shifting colors announces its name, the Orb of Dominance, and it plans to help him rule the world, saying it is his destiny. The more it talks to him in his head, the less control he has. Feeling drawn to the orb, with his body briefly moving, not of his own accord. The Orb of Dominance becomes too eager, which temporarily breaks the trance. But this power was immense, and though Archie didn't believe himself worthy of power, he was going to take it anyway. He meets the redstone golems, and after that, he and the orb make plans for a massive construct After some time getting used to the power of the orb and his new colossal castle, High Block Keep and the Obsidian Pinnacle located just beyond, the orb plots to grant him subjects to rule over. The orb advises that he needs to enlist his old Illager tribe to become his army and join him in his new fortress, High Block Castle. Peering into the orb, viewing the world from above as if he were a bird, Archie spots some of the Illagers from his old home, including Thord, fighting an undead army within the desert, being badly wounded. So he decides to bring a few redstone golems down with him to wipe out the undead threat. Amazed and enthralled by Archie's display of power, the Illagers cheer, and Archie takes the chance to invite the entire tribe, using Thord as a messenger. While the Illagers prep to take the entire tribe on a journey, Archie takes the time to construct the early formations of the Fiery Forge to make more golems. After they arrive, Archie settles them into High Block Keep until they begin their first major mission. The Illager army attempts to raid the Squid Coast, planning to capture the villagers of the village to then put them to work as unwilling workers, mining materials to supply the redstone golem production line. Mid-attack, a group of undead jump into the fight, with Archie being shot by a skeleton twice, with his consciousness quickly fading out as he hears Yumi, once friend, now betrayed, telling him he deserves it. He wakes up healed by the orb, but carried and tied to the back of a skeleton used as a stretcher, surrounded by the group of undead that had interrupted the fight, led by a necromancer. Quickly understanding that the necromancer had followed them throughout the entire journey, from the desert temple to the Squid Coast. Eventually, he's brought to the desert temple, face to face with the ruler of the undead, the Nameless One. The Nameless One speaks about this new ruler's rise, either Archie or the return of the orb. After speaking, they decide to ally with each other, the Nameless Kingdom and the Illager Empire. Using the orb's power, the undead are granted immunity to the sun's light, and in exchange, giving Archie a larger army to control. As the orb is able to command the dead Archie comes across. Upon Archie's return to High Block Keep, the other Illagers are surprised that he's alive, and more so by the undead behind him, now under his control. Using the orb to peer into the Fiery Forge and check up on the Illager workforce placed there, he realizes that Thord is over at his forge, stealing valuable resources, using a redstone golem pulling a makeshift sled, prompting him to go over to the forge to make an example of him, which includes pressing him into a pool of lava. Not too long after, Archie and his troops decide to re-attack the Squid Coast village. Archie sending Walder and the undead to attack and burn down the 4 heroes' houses as a form of distraction, giving the army time to attack properly, without any more interruptions. As they arrive at the edge of the village, the Illagers chanting as they itch for the upcoming fight, Archie starts to wonder if he can save Yumi, or if he should call it off at all, letting his conscience break through, until the orb, who's listening to his internal dialogue, retorts, "You are overstepping your boundaries." Whether Archie wanted to or not, this is the role he's going to play. He will be the villain of the story. So as he unwillingly destroys the village that once took him in, chasing off Carl with a massive new golem, the redstone monstrosity, and proceeds to capture the residents, the other 4 heroes, Adrien, Hal, Hex, and Valerie, look on and decide together that they are going to put an end to this reign, and everything that comes with it, kicking off the events of the Minecraft Dungeons game. Starting off with the Squid Coast, the heroes make it there too late, just to see the destruction left behind by the Arch-Illager's troops. Reaching the highest peak of the village, they decide to set up camp, turning into the main hub for the rest of the game. The next place of interest is the Creeper Woods, a described mob-infested maze, of where a caravan is transporting the last of the captured villagers, being sent off to work in far-off locations, where our heroes find and free them. The majority of the levels are less storied compared to the Arch-Illager's segment, being a straightforward mission and nothing much else, except for the many bits of environmental storytelling around these locations. Within the Creeper Woods, multiple crypts can be found, filled with undead, with one structure containing a unique villager that joins you in the lobby. You find many more in multiple locations, but it's interesting to see one that's completely removed from the hands of the Illagers. Perhaps they were run out by the several creepers that infested this place. After completing the Creeper Woods, 4 levels unlock simultaneously, so there's not much of a specific order for them. The Pumpkin Pastures is another village that's entered the Illager's crosshairs for attack. The last one in this land to be attacked. But getting into this village is a bit harder, however, surrounded by moats and drawbridges, which some of the undead and Illager forces have already made their way through. Throughout the level, your main mission is to get to the village square, to warn the remaining villagers of the incoming threat, passing multiple burnt houses and farmland. Nothing much really of note here. I've seen some people have thought the boss at the end of this level, an evoker, is Walder, which is more of a fan headcanon from the Minecraft wiki if anything. There is nothing that confirms this idea, but it's a nice what if. Within the soggy swamps lies a coven of witches, akin to how villagers live in villages. This is a community that the Illager has enlisted to brew potions to strengthen his forces. So you are tasked with taking out the brewing stations and destroying the sentient, golem-like corrupted cauldron and brought into being using the orb. As you make your way through the swamps, there's a lot of ancient ruins dotted within, near the witch huts, with the witches dwelling in said ruins. Witches seem to place themselves in ruins of old, many of which we've talked about in the latest theory video for our 5k special. We go way more in depth with that video, so check that out if you want to. Next, the redstone mines. The main reason for capturing the villagers for their labour, mining redstone and diamonds to melt together in order to form a steady production of redstone golems. Like vanilla, there's a lot of clustered spawners placed around these mines, with these ones spawning undead there as a quick way to summon in backup. Because at this point, they probably figured you'd be here to free their new workers at some point. At the very end, you're faced with the first redstone golem you'll fight in the game, which is one of many if you don't stop the production off at the forge. After completing this level, you unlock the Fiery Forge, entering from the redstone mines. It makes sense to be the next place of action to attack. Another straightforward one, get into the forge, overload the cores powering the facility, smash the biggest war machine, the redstone monstrosity, and get out. Interestingly, within the environment, aside from all the industrial equipment there, lies areas that seem older, with additions that do not fit at home with the heavy machineries, being more ruined than the main sections of the cavernous forge. Coming to the end of the level, the heroes face against the redstone monstrosity. It stands larger than the redstone golems, and it's clear why this thing is Archie's workhorse for combat, intimidation, and transport. So yeah, apparently Archie uses this thing as a mobile throne of sorts, sitting between its massive horns that both jut out from the sides of its head. In the novel, apparently just looking at it invokes some sort of primal fear, or at least uncomfortability. What's even more unnerving, however, is the fact that it laughs. Redstone golems and the monstrosity are constructs. More like robots, if anything, taking orders to the letter, keeping only their directive in mind. The monstrosity, however, seems almost like a pet for Archie. Maybe after hearing Archie's maniacal cackle so many times, it tries to do it itself, almost imprinting on him, mimicking his behaviour. This is truly Minecraft's best father-son dynamic. The Cacti Canyon level is focused on finding the entrance to the Desert Temple, so not much to really say here. There are a lot of ruins, with occupying Illager forces, probably sent here to help Archie in his quest to steal power over the undead, actively severing the alliance they established in the novel, taking the undead troops for himself. Alongside the weird bridges and such, there's a ton of giant fossils made of chiseled quartz, which is weird because the development team when building could have just used normal bone blocks, but went with these, maybe as some sort of monument to their power over death. We make our way into the bowels of the Desert Temple, where the remains of the Nameless Kingdom reside. A vast and ancient kingdom, said to be wiped away by the wind-blown sands of the desert. Interestingly, in the story description of this level, it seems like Archie and the Nameless One have already turned on each other. Archie still has control over a certain amount of undead for now, but their trust in each other has already been broken. At first, it's not exactly clear which was the first to betray the other, but the fact that the description says Archie is going for his staff, it was probably Archie who initiated it, wanting more power to himself. This place is filled with gold, emeralds, riches untold, along with reserves of fresh water.
You're not supposed to be here.
The perfect oasis for a desert civilization. Beyond this beauty, there's a lot of traps and hidden rooms in these ancient crypts. Making your way to the end of the temple, you find the Nameless One, lying on a flat tomb with multiple vanguard kneeled beside him. The boss fight's starting when you wake him up. The fight here shows some of the power that this being has. Teleportation, mirror spells. With the immense damage compared to anything else in this game, it seems this particular entity is very strong. Even its boss theme contrasts every single other boss theme in the game, being a slow, drumming beat as he closes in, with sounds like groans like that of a zombie heard throughout. At the end of the fight, defeating the Nameless One, the ruler of the undead, you destroy its staff in the process, stopping the Illager from getting a hold of it, as the monster disappears in a bright flash of green energy. The novel makes it clear that the Nameless One would not simply subject itself to needless danger. He plays its cards and knows how to play them. There's a reason the Nameless One had gotten to become as old as he had. Perhaps he may return. This won't be the last we see of the Nameless One, but maybe a more in-depth analysis look into this character would be in order. A future theory on this ruler of death. For what is dead may never die. Finally, you've made it to High Block Keep, starting in the halls of the lower sections. This place's ancient history has been built over by the new residents. Venturing further and further in, you see your adversaries living within these walls are Illagers and Wraiths. Wraiths are a strange choice, but being more soulful like the Necromancers. It seems they're more intelligent than the average undead, as they clearly trust them inside the castle, among the Illagers. Not much else apart from all the old passages. By the time you get to the main throne room, Archie summons a ton of troops to attack, as he flees to the Obsidian Pinnacle, the top of his fortress. Making our way up there, there's a lot going on. Illagers, redstone golems, strange gargoyles, and areas where you dip into maze-like libraries. And stuff like this. Another monstrosity, unfinished or under repairs. It looks to be much stronger than the redstone monstrosity would have ever been, using obsidian in the insides, cracks permeating the surface, revealing a purple glow. In some places, the texture of a portal. It's never brought up again, but the obsidian monstrosity does appear in the arcade version as a boss, but no lore is given there either. That is if the arcade version can be considered canon. The Illager did state in the novel that he would likely create more monstrosities, with this likely being one of them. After fighting through the toughest of troops that fought with their lives to protect their leader, now you face him yourself. Archie flies into the arena, darting around, laughing and taunting you. The orb whirring past before landing in the middle, initiating the fight. The Illager has finally decided to stop running and begins to fight back, summoning troops around him, sending blasts of magic around the area, teleporting around, and rarely summoning a redstone golem to assist him. Without the right setup or up to level gear, this boss could get a little tricky. Once Archie's health is depleted, the orb picks him up and swirls him around a starry whirlwind, taking away the cocky tone from his voice, turning it into more of a cry for help. As the whirlwind swirls louder, the crying of an Enderman can be heard, as if you've angered on by staring at it. Just as the sound erupts into a screech, the heart of Ender emerges, as the orb utilizes more of its full power to create a non-physical form for itself, with the Illager as their vessel. Within this insectoid-like form, the Orb of Dominance can actually still be seen present here, floating within their own mouth. Archie's voice is still heard in a cocky manner, but extremely distorted, yet also looking quite sad in his animations. As the Heart of Ender is defeated, a wither death sound can be heard as the screen flashes white, fading back to see their forms scattered from the arena, up a flight of stairs, and leading to Archie and the Orb, struggling against each other. The Orb tugs away while Archie holds onto them in desperation. The main story's ending cutscene plays, showing Archie trying to stop his source of power from escaping him, the heart pulling further until in another bright explosion, the Orb shatters. Archie on the ground, surrounded by the shards of the orb, wakes up and quickly loses the aggression he composed himself with. Assuming he would be next on the chopping block, Archie begins to cower, before Valerie, who seems to recognize him, reaches out for his hand, finally allowing Archie to have friends. There were likely a lot of points where they could have noticed he wasn't in control, such as the time they met him in the village, or the unimaginable beast that had overtaken him, but nonetheless, they figured it out regardless. After they've left, in the storming rains, the shards begin to slide towards each other to reform what they could. Clearly, the Heart of Ender would not die so easy. Some of the missing pieces from the orb had scattered extremely far across the vast overworld, completely out from the mainland and landing on separate islands, where many of the DLCs take place, which I'll talk about in the order they release, since they don't have an exact order to each other. The first piece landed in a jungle island, seeping with corruptive power, turning some of the nearby plants into more deadly beings that use magic, brute strength, or poison, with the shard spawning a creature around itself out of the foliage and ruins, such as a villager statue, which it uses as an arm. This is the jungle abomination. These shards are likely not sentient. In response to a question asking, so the Orb of Dominance shards have the power to bring things to life in different biomes. Is the orb doing this on its own due to losing its former master? Or is there a new foe controlling the shards? Mark Watson, a producer for Dungeons, states in a Q&A in the Minecraft Dungeons Discord, the full orb definitely has will/power of its own. It spent a lot of time working with Archie. But where did the orb come from in the first place? Shocked emoji. The specific mention of the full orb having its own proper will, under this context, suggests that these shards are not sentient. The orb has immense power, yes. But as you will see, this power is a small piece of how it naturally should be. Damage like this would, of course, likely end up shattering its mind into a dormant state. Instead, the shard has given the jungle abomination sentience. But just like the majority of these DLCs, you get to the place, find the bad thing, and defeat it. And eventually you would in the sun room of the overgrown temple. There are a lot of remnants of a society of sorts here, and lots of statues of things you'd imagine would be made, like slimes, ocelots, and zombies. But then you have statues of blazes too. The next island is a frozen over tundra, which apparently wasn't as cold as it is now. The island contains an ancient reclaimed lone fortress, similar to High Block Keep, and inhabited by Illagers and undead who have taken residency. But once Archie was dethroned, everything fell into shambles, with the undead and Illagers quickly turning on each other. One of the shards landed here, which was quickly swiped by a wraith, fastening it to a crown to draw its power, where it decided to coat the whole island in an even more inhospitable winter, beyond what the ice spikes of the Lost Settlement level had to offer. There are a lot of elite magic-wielding Illagers here, like the Illager, a previous mob vote candidate which originated from this game, and the Illusioner as a mini-boss, a mob which is actually in vanilla, but currently unused. Defeating the wretched wraith, the animation includes it swooping down to see the shard of the crown destroyed, shaking it and crying out. No significant lore other than expanding on the intelligence of wraiths. Yet it's still a neat detail. Next island is the Howling Peaks. A very tall mountain surrounded by ocean is being threatened by a shard that has landed atop the peaks, with its seeping corruption carried by the winds. Getting higher and higher, we can see Illagers have taken residence here. People used to live here. There's elevators and other structures like the Gale Sanctum, a giant temple that the shard has made its way into to infuse into one of the golems there. Inside the sanctum is a lot more technologically advanced machinery, using wind-powered squall golems and other assortments of traps to protect the special treasures and secrets that have been left here. Coming to the end of the sanctum, we have the Tempest Golem, which has the shard, meaning it must be destroyed. Interestingly, however, the shard is first seen among the peaks outside, and in the wilds. The Illager hordes, which are said to have arrived recently, and were racing to the peak of the mountain range, must have taken it to the Tempest Golem for their own nefarious purposes. The Tempest Golem completely protects itself from damage until the two pillars by its sides have been drained of their energy, with each one malfunctioning a side of its body with it, as it becomes vulnerable to attacks. All the while attacking the player with its blade-shaped arms, and calling down bolts of lightning with its stormy power, activating the nearby Squall Golems as it regains its defenses. Nothing really else of note. Like a lot of the others, there's a lot of detail about the history of this place, much of which we've covered in the Broken God theory, so check that out if you haven't. Next is the Hidden Depths, which instead of coming after the Howling Peaks DLC, it came out after the Flames of the Nether DLC. Why didn't I mention it? Nothing related to the story ever happens in the Nether DLC. It's essentially a supply run set of missions, which you traverse incredible environments in for gear, before getting back out. World's strangest holiday. The Hidden Depths is where you locate the final shard of the Orb of Dominance, landing in the oceans of the overworld. Its corruption creates underwater variants of the jungle mobs, out of kelp and anemones, tangled among them. The shard ends up attaching to a creature older than even the Elder Guardians. The Ancient Guardian. The ocean monument is quite old, being left to the currents of the indifferent seas, as its guardians continue to roam its halls and take out all that come near. Interestingly, compared to how calculating yet indifferent the guardians seem to be, the Ancient Guardian is a lot more observant in the levels, seeing its shadow above you multiple times, stalking you throughout, destroying bridges with its eye beams to hinder your efforts. The way it smashes through the wall of the monument, something it's made to protect, is a lot more careless. Maybe it's to do with the shard emboldening it to behave in such a way, but who knows. All that we know is that it's been defeated, with the shard destroyed. As the shards are destroyed, 2 Endermen have found it. They are here in the overworld, under unusual circumstances. They have found the remains of the Orb of Dominance, which had mostly put itself back together, at the top of the obsidian pinnacle. Yet, this isn't High Block Castle, it's in a cave. And the area outside is full of spruce trees, in a taiga, the same biome which we find the Stronghold, an underground structure, in. The orb's remains are here in the Stronghold, far from the obsidian pinnacle it had been left in. The Endermen begin tearing apart the rocky wall, picking up the orb, one looking at the other Enderman, before they both teleport further in. As they walk forward, going their separate ways, we hear the sounds of the Heart of Ender, as it appears in the end, speaking to the beginning. With the Enderman carrying the remains of the orb closer to the end portal, it drops in. There's a moment of silence. Six Endercent emerge and remove the eyes from the portal, deactivating it. As the Heart of Ender peers through with its imperfect form, it speaks once more, to the end. The heroes search throughout the overworld, defeating each Endercent, which have been heavily enchanted by the Eyes of Ender they've placed onto their chests. Each one hiding in a secret location, within the Creeper Woods, Pumpkin Pastures, Soggy Swamp, Cacti Canyon, Desert Temple, and High Block Halls. As we activate the portal, we see a cutscene of Illagers appearing in the end, with the particles of the end portal around them, looking around in awe at the strange world around them. Clearly the end portal functions differently to the main game, placing the target at random locations on the outer islands, much like the Nether portal. We start in the End Wilds. There's a lot of strange plants and creatures, unlike anywhere. The Enderlings, the main residents of the End, coexist, forming the civilization of this dimension. But they are in an unforeseen dilemma. There's the Watchling that's covered in eyes, with full view in every direction, sporting larger arms, groaning and chattering like a zombie. The Snareling, which act as a group of ambush attackers, shooting a goop at the target to trap them in place, communicating telepathically via a sort of static signal, much like the other creatures here, like the Enderman and Heart of Ender, leading to all nearby Snarelings to teleport and attack at once, hissing like the spiders of the overworld. Then the Blastling, which sports a mane of fire surrounding its head, strategically keeping its distance, and firing a sort of purple slime splat at their target. Their steps are like that of skeletons. Ruins are dotted around the ancient expanse of the wilds, in which Watchlings stand guard among the lifeless skeletal forests and floating islands. As you head further through the End, their numbers and the variety of Enderlings found here increase unusually, possibly signaling something ominous taking place deeper within their world. They attack on sight, unlike Endermen in most cases, as they're all on edge right now, due to the Illagers, which are said to have entered the End for their own sinister intentions. According to the Exploring the End Wilds article on the Minecraft website, they are here as invaders, and the Enderlings are not happy, locking them up in prison cells among the End docks. The Illagers only being released once you defeat the Enderlings guarding these nuisances. They were not summoned here, but they came of their own volition, setting up camps throughout, and pushing further into the core of this dimension. The signs of their preparation are even in the Stronghold, with fresh banners from modern High Block Keep, and statues of Illager royal guards placed throughout. The same supplies they carry with them in the End, such as crates and boxes, can be found in the stronghold too. That's why the description of the stronghold level says it's recently been a hub of activity. In fact, this also explains the locked up villagers. Endermen have no need to keep them imprisoned here. But that certainly sounds like something the Illagers would and have been doing throughout the game. This is why the events of the DLC take place at all. The Endermen find the orb in the stronghold, likely because the Illagers had taken it from High Block Keep with them in their efforts, along with the remaining supplies left by the Illagers. Instead, the Enderlings had fought them off, explaining why they would leave behind something precious that they would take all the way with them, like the orb and any supplies, which would be much needed. The orb, found in the state stashed away, was brought to the end as a desperate measure, not out of love or servitude. It had been left behind for a reason originally, after all. This is also why the End Descent had deactivated the End Portal, all to protect their world from further invaders, while they could handle this crisis. In the End Wilds, your path leads you to an End Gateway, to reach the core of the dimension, chasing down the Heart of Ender, teleporting to the very heart of the Void. You arrive at the outer islands of the Citadel, a structure now broken. Greater concentrations of villagers can be found in increased numbers, all the way to the monolithic gate, which stops them in their tracks, opening this gate to reach the enemy lurking closer to the center of the End. You fly from the outer citadel to the citadel proper. You've been chasing the Heart of Ender for the entire game, really. Now with them clearly leading you to the very center of their world. Though not intentionally. This has to be for a reason, and it is. The Heart of Ender is broken. The orb was shattered, so its form in the End has been rendered imperfect, as referred to in both the game files and Ben Excel's ArtStation page, showcasing the models he made for the Echoing Void. The Heart of Ender gains their power from the End, with the Nameless One telling Archie, "Your orb's power, however, comes from somewhere far beyond," in the novel. And this is true. That's why the remains of the Orb of Dominance manifests into a more powerful physical form upon entering the End, with direction and a goal to reach for the core. If the End offers them this much power, the center of it, a place so important it is referred to as the capital, must harbour more concentration of this force to pull from. And this is exactly what we see as the Heart of Ender forms a void pool in this location and dives straight into it. Everything shakes before the Heart of Ender emerges with a different look, a different form, the perfect form, mentioned in the files referring to this model as well. The fight is chaotic at this point. You fight against a creature who's creating objects like mirrors to reflect their own projectiles around the area, launching bombs, summoning massive swarms of endermite, with some even being enchanted. This is the true antagonist of Minecraft Dungeons, and you have finally defeated it. The eyes on the Heart of Ender's neck blast beams of energy outwards, slicing its lower body in half, the connections of the neck pieces giving away, groaning one last time as the Heart of Ender collapses into a pile of parts, with its head making a wither noise once more upon its last sign of life. The vengeful Heart of Ender fades away. Returning home through the exit portal just beyond the center of the End, the heroes hold a party, celebrating an overworld that has finally been freed from the orb's influence, with the camera panning out as the narrator asks,
"But even as this story ends, is a hero's work ever done? As long as adventures await, heroes will answer the call."
Showing two redstone golems among a group of mobs passing through, watching the party from a mountain. With our story coming to an end, there still lies a few questions. What may happen with the Nameless One? What happened to Archie after he was freed from the orb? What will happen next between the Illagers and the Enderlings? Why didn't you bring up the Mushroom Island? The Mushroom Island is a secret level that requires the collection of 9 runes from 9 separate levels, opening a way to the island where all the mushrooms are hostile, and letting the player face the mushroom monstrosity at the end of the level. If you want more details about that, I'd recommend you take a look at this video here, where we talk a bit about it. The Nameless One, however, we don't know much of. Considering there's a lot of talk and rumour of Minecraft Dungeons 2 happening at the time of writing this, maybe he could return in that game, or another. If you want to see more about some of the locations and their lore, we've got a ton of lore theories looking into their full history and more. Even our next theory video, where we're uncovering more of the Seer's history, the Nameless Kingdom's influence and reach upon the overworld, the secrets of the Lost Settlement, the full nature of the overworld's early days, and a lot more. Subscribe if you haven't already to stay tuned for that video and the many more to come after. Thank you for watching. Hope to see you in another video. But until then, have a good day or night.